You're listening to Creatives Crushing Anxiety, the podcast for online business creatives looking to minimize their anxiety and maximize their productivity through systems organization and time management. I'm your host, Dia Darling. Let's do this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Creatives Crushing Anxiety. I can't believe it's been so many months. I'm not going to apologize because life happens, and part of the reason that I have not published a new episode is because June and July have been the busiest months that I can remember. First of all, I'm sure most of you know this if you follow me on social media. I built a house. Well, I didn't build it myself, but I paid for it and other people built it. And that is actually kind of going to be the theme of the next few episodes. And no, I'm not going to talk to you about mortgages or home decor, even though I know a lot about it now. It's actually, we're going to take a step back. And for those of you who follow on Instagram, you may remember that I did a 7-part series called Get Your Shit Together. And we go through my methodology that I work through with my one-on-one clients. And I was recording that series when I was actually going through the methodology myself on this goal of buying a house, which I didn't want to share then what I was actually working on. But now that it's happened and now that I'm here, I decided to go ahead and kind of do a little backtrack to show you the methodology kind of as a case study. Now, if we were to squeeze all 7 methodologies into one episode, it would be the length of the movie Titanic. So we're going to break this up over a few episodes and go through the steps. Now, I'm going to share the link in the show notes for this episode to that series if you would like to register to watch those videos, because they're very, very helpful and they take you step by step on my methodology. As well as if you go ahead and sign up to watch the series, you can get the download that kind of helps you go through the workbook on this. And as always, you can work with me directly on this, which would just take it in a step even further and make it even more awesome to work with someone one-on-one who's been through this methodology, who created this methodology, and just really take your goal from step 1 to complete. So the first step of the methodology is values and priorities. Now, the focus here is getting super, super clear on what's important to you and what you want. Now, I know that for a lot of people, it may feel like, well, I know what I want. But a lot of times we know what feeling we want to have or what experience we want to have, but we aren't really clear on what that looks like. And in the series, I share with you a couple of questions that I think are important for you to just sit down and focus on when you're about to start this new goal or this new path. So the first question is, what is important to you? And going through some of my notes, I'm not going to share every single thing that I put for each item. But when it came to what was important to me, it was feeling safe, both financially and physically. I wanted to buy a house, but I also wanted to make sure that it was a house that I wasn't going to feel like, how am I going to make the mortgage every month? I got really clear on a number that felt good to me and that I felt like I would be okay with. And I actually, I actually am $200 a month under the number that I said would be the max I would want to pay for all the stuff, the house, mortgage, insurance. And then physically safe. It was really important to me to feel like I was somewhere where I would be okay, especially being a woman who lives by herself. You want to feel safe. And you also want to feel like you're in a community where you're safe. I could get into some very heavy race politics stuff, but that is not the point of this episode. But I just wanted to feel like I was somewhere safe. So, and then the next question is, what do I want? I was very, very clear that I wanted a house that was 3 bedrooms. And I even had some kickback from people in my life who were saying things like, well, you're only one person. Why do you need 3 bedrooms? And I was like, because I want a designated office space. Because before I was working in this little corner by my dining room table, I constantly ran into the wall and hit my elbow. You know what it's like when you hit your funny bone. It's not funny. constantly did that. Always felt like it was distracting behind me because there was like my bookshelf and the table, and I just was not, I wanted a space that was designated just for that. And another part of that was because it was right there in the dining room, it was across the way from the couch in the living room, the TV and all that. So it was like I was never leaving work. I could always see my whiteboard. I could always see the things that were waiting to be done by me or the things that were on cue for the next day. And because I worked online for so long, I feel like I had built a pretty good boundary when it comes to certain aspects of the working from home and being done with the day when you're done with the day. And like I turned off Slack. I don't get Slack notifications on my phone. I have the app, but only if I can check in. If I'm like, let's say it's a Friday, like this past Friday, I had to run to the store for tampons, and I like was having a conversation with someone, but it was like I need to go to the store, so I like could message this person while I was at Walmart, and it was available to me. I don't check Foxer on the weekends. So I have like those boundaries set in place, but when it's literally in the physical space, it's hard to even maintain those boundaries because even if you're not actively doing anything that encroaches on them, it's in your energy. It's in your mind. It's right there. So like in here, I can leave this room, I can close the door. Actually, I don't even have to close the door because it's separate from the area that's my bedroom and the living room. Like it's its own room and I can just work and focus on that. And that is so delicious and something I'm so grateful for. I also wanted a guest room because I have family, I have friends who have moved. And if they wanted to come visit me, I want them to have their own space. Wanted 2 bathrooms, don't want to share my bathroom with guests. It was really important for me to have dark cabinets because I've had white cabinets for the last at least 2 years, and I see how easily they get dirty and they're hard to clean. So that was important to me. I wanted a big kitchen. It didn't have to be huge, but it needed to have. I'm an appliance junkie. I love to juice. I love to make my own coffee. I love to air fry, Instapot, all of that. So I'm really, really big on appliances, and I wanted space for that, which is also why I wanted a pantry. My sister's house that I absolutely love, that she had built a couple, like about 6 years ago, she doesn't have a pantry. And we always kind of talk about like how that's such an inconvenience and so frustrating. And so I wanted to make sure I had a pantry. So these were some of the things, and I did have like probably a longer list handwritten out of this, but these were like things that I knew I wanted. And then I tell you guys to go into the Wouldn't It Be Nice list. And the Wouldn't It Be Nice list is this magical thing that I actually discovered because of Marie Forleo, who you guys know I'm a longtime fan. And it's basically just a list of things that would be nice. And it's not the end of the world if you don't get them. It's not something that you're maybe even actively pursuing, but it's things that would be nice. So for me, it was like a glass door shower. That would be nice. Didn't get that, but you know what? I'm okay without it. A dark carpet or hardwood floors. I have hardwood in certain areas and I have dark carpet in the others, so that was perfect. A gated community. A new build, which I did get. A deck or patio. Didn't come with a deck or a patio. However, I pretty much started building one, so like it was like, oh, it would be nice. And so it's in my head like, yeah, this is something I want to make happen eventually. But it wasn't a deal breaker when deciding to build a house. And then the next thing is what I won't do. So I want to touch on this a little bit deeper probably than I did in the original series, but what I won't do. So this is often something that coaches tell you not to do. They tell you not to focus on the things that you don't want, where energy goes, energy grows, and all that. But I want to break this down a little bit to just really explain what, like the caveat here, or the way to do this correctly, to where you're not giving too much energy to the things you don't want. I agree that you shouldn't focus all of your energy on what you don't want and making sure you don't get any more of that, because you're just going to attract more of it. But taking some time to decide what the things are you don't want and are no longer available for will help you capture them and then move on. It's a lot easier to see what you want when it's not cluttered by what you don't. So I would say even after you do this step, to go back to what you want, and you may think that you may see things that are clearer, or you may see things that you can reverse engineer to add to this list. For example, if you said, I don't want a 2-story, then on the what I want list, you say, I want a 1-story. I don't want a house without a garage. Oh, well, then I know I want a garage. Oh, and that was something that was on mine. It was really, really important for me to have a garage. So you'll see with these steps, I actually did this myself and just like allow myself to sit down and think about what was important to me, what I wanted, what I didn't want, what would be nice to have. And it really helped me start the process very, very, very clear. Okay, so step 2 is going to be reality work. Now, the questions here, you may be thinking, how do you use them in a situation like buying a house? And don't worry, I'm going to give you an example. The reason that I want to do the reality work after we get super clear on your values and priorities is so that we can actually stop and say, okay, how much is my current reality matching up to the things that I say I want, that I say are important to me? So that's why we start with the values before going into the reality work. So the first thing is to describe a day in your life with as much detail as possible. Like I said, this allows you to see how your values and priorities show up, how you may be practicing the things that you say you want, and what you're doing that is getting you closer to your goal. So let's say for me, I talk about the day in my life when I still lived in my apartment, and I talk about going to the store and having to come back and look for parking, or having to like climb up to the 3rd floor. I look at those things, and you're not just like focusing on the bad. You look for things that you like too, because that may get you even more clear on what you want. So you're like, oh, and I love like at 6 o'clock, I go sit on the patio and have a glass of wine, and I love looking over at the city views. Whatever it may be, you just write out as much details as possible, and you get super clear. So then, as you're just writing these things out unbiasedly, you want to stop and you want to review it. Review it. Wow. You want to review it and then say, what do I love about my current reality? So for me, it was like, I loved that I had friends nearby. I loved that there was a Whataburger literally walking distance. I loved how close I was to the highway without being right on the highway. Those were things that I loved. What did I wish would, and then the next question is, what do I wish could change? So it's like the noisy neighbors. I had a next door neighbor that I shared a wall with who was very noisy, loved to play music, loved to have guests, and it drove me crazy. The 3 flights of stairs, did not like walking up those. I have a knee and a back injury, so I was like not a fan of that. The looking for parking, as a woman, I would hate coming home and having to park half a mile away and walk around. I'm like clenching my taser, like, okay, come at me. Don't come at me. So fear the things that make you quote unquote miserable. And they don't have to, obviously make you miserable, but the things that you don't enjoy about the experience and that you don't want to replicate. So that to me was obvious, like, okay, well, I don't like walking up 3 flights of stairs. Maybe I should go with the 1-story, which honestly, sidebar, I was so set on getting a 2-story house because I never lived in one. And then after going through this, I was like, no, I don't want a 2-story house. And it's funny because even now I do so much moving around in the house that I'm like, oh, this would be so inconvenient if this was a 2-story house. So it just allows you to, when you say, what do I wish would change, to really just look at the things and what actions you're taking to actually change these things. Are there things that you can change now? Is it something like, let's say the looking for parking is one of your things. Are there garages that you can rent out that are near, that you'll always have a space while you're still in this current situation? What are your options and what is it that you have available to you? And I think getting super happy with your current reality while you create this new reality is so beneficial. The next thing is to think about 3 issues you face on a daily basis. Now, this is a very broad question. As you're going through your day, not everything is going to align or have to do with your goal. So let's say your goal is to buy a house and you notice, oh, every day I get too tired, so I don't make dinner and I just like heat up a lean cuisine. Okay, that obviously has nothing to do with your house. Or does it? Are you spending more money buying lean cuisines, which is probably a horrible example because lean cuisines are like $2. Are you spending more money like doing this every day that you could be putting towards your down payment or putting towards debt payoff? This was also something that was really important to me when I was looking through my current reality. And I always invite you to take it a step further. These first questions are literally just the tip of the iceberg of what you would go through if we were to work together one-on-one. This is just to kind of give you a broad overview of the process. But for me, part of my reality work was looking at the debts that I had, how much I had in savings, and the credit score. That to me was so important whenever I was looking through what's going on so that I can know where I was at financially in order to achieve this goal that requires a lot financially. So those are the very first two steps. Again, I invite you to watch the video series and stay tuned because the next episode we will be going into even more of the process and my own personal case study of this. Thanks so much for listening, and I'm so glad to be back. Bye.
This has been Creatives Crushing Anxiety. For more podcast episodes, visit diadarling.com. Did you enjoy this episode? Then go ahead and leave a review on iTunes. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. Catch you next time.